is a Meet Your Council Member reading for Sirius Business. So since I didn't have to get the code name, I'm going to go ahead and surround us in some protective space. And I'm going to use my green fluorite here. Okay. Okay, so right away, coming down the right shoulder, there's kind of this energy of the right has to do with like manifesting things. And so a lot of times it can have to do with things that we're doing, like career and getting established and things like that. That's all on the right side. Um, and there's still kind of this energy of almost a little bit of like confusion or lack of awareness, like kind of this like, what am I doing? Kind of a little bit of foggy energy going on with the arm here. Um, but then coming around and then coming to the left arm, there's an energy of uh, being connected with your path, being connected with your guides. Your left side, on the other hand, represents receiving more than doing, more than manifesting. It's more your feminine side. And so this is the side where that represents us connecting to our higher guidance and things like that. And so this side is like very intact. And there's a feeling of like a solid connection, like you are sure and you know what you're doing, and you're getting validation of that, right? So you have all these questions and everything, but things are being confirmed to you. So even if things have been confusing, um, it's like as you just go back and you get into that space, then there's less confusion and you realize that you do know what you're doing, and you do really know what you're talking about, and you have that stance now. It's like that they're saying stance. So it's almost like um almost like, oh, my battery is low. Gotta plug this in here. Okay. Right. Okay. So they're saying the word stance. So almost like, and they're also saying the word position. Um, but they mean stance, almost like if you're doing like martial arts or something, for instance, right? And you have these certain stances that you stand in. So sorry, my computer is being so distracting. Okay, stop popping up all this stuff. Okay. Um, so it's almost like in karate, like, or like a form of martial arts, right? You have all these different stances. Um, and it's like when you're in one of those stances, nothing can sort of knock you over, right? And so it's like even if you get kind of confused or kind of wobbly, you can go back into this sort of stance or this position, like, yeah, but I do really know what's right for me because I am getting validation of that. And it's like there are things that you can kind of go back through now. You can go, yeah, but this is working out here, and this confirms that, and this validates that, and so there's not so much like, am I losing my mind? Am I crazy? Nothing's really working out for me. No, things are working out for you. And so it kind of unvalidates the confusion, right? There's not as much place for confusion, but that energy is still there. And it almost feels like it's just this habit. It feels like it's this habit, like you always had this voice there. You always had this, mean thought form back there going, hey, serious business, you don't know your stuff. You don't know your shit, You always had this dude over here who was constantly sort of undermining you and discouraging you. And so it's like now you are stepping into this other place, right? It's like a position of power. It's like a stance, like they were saying, where something can't knock you over. You can go into this stance. You can go into this quiet place within you, and you can say to that thing that you have confirmation of what you are thinking, of what your thoughts are, and of what's right for you. And you know what to do, and you know where you're headed, even if all the little pieces aren't completely worked out yet. You still, you know where you're going, and it's at the right pace for you. So you know that you're getting somewhere, even if it takes a little bit of time, but you're moving very quickly compared to how slowly you were moving before, where it was like you were just trudging through this like black water, like trudging through this heavy kind of murky muddy water. But your guides are saying that now that you're connecting to yourself and who you are, the water is becoming clear. So you can see clear ahead of you, and you're getting validation of that all the time. And things are working out for you, and things are benefiting you, and you're in your space. There's a feeling that you're so in your space that sometimes other people aren't quite right in themselves, right? And so you're going to stick out. You're going to stick out as a person as you come more into your own space. So you can actually even look at that as a validation, your guides are saying. When somebody kind of bumps heads with you, or they don't see you fully correctly, or they don't really get you, you can just understand that you are different, and hey, you are in your space. You are in your correct alignment. And they're not. And your guides are saying that that might seem kind of arrogant to say or something, but they're saying that most people are not. And they're saying that even you weren't before, right? You weren't really in your correct alignment before. You weren't really in your zen. But the thing is that you're still attracting people who are in that space, even though you're pulling out of that. Okay? Like even with this thought form that's constantly discouraging and undermining and questioning and doubting your capabilities, and constantly telling you that you're wrong, or no, look at it in this way, right? And this new way of looking at it, where you do feel like there's all this validation, and you're stepping more into your place and your resonance, um, that that is kind of new, right? That's really new for you. And so this thought form still feels like it should be able to knock you over. It's used to doing that, and you're used to giving into that. But you can always go back to this new energy now. And it's solid, and it's a foundation for you. And that's why the left side was feeling that way, why the left side was feeling so concrete and established, where you have this firm connection with who you are, what you're doing, who your guides are, what your guides want you to do, what they're telling you to do. And you can always go back to that. And you can always fix something, right? because you have this stance now and you have this angle, this way of looking at things. And so it's almost like you're creating a new thought form in a sense by stepping into your reality. You have this new mantra now that you can say, and this new feeling that you're putting out all the time. So now you're sort of in a sense creating this other voice, this good voice. So you have the angel on your shoulder now, versus just the demon over here squawking at you. And the louder that this voice gets, the louder that the angelic voice gets, the smaller that this little demonic voice becomes. Until finally it's just wiped clean. Finally, you can't hear it anymore. It gets to where its squawk is just silent, and it runs out of energy, right? And then it just goes back into unconscious existence. Where it doesn't have this consciousness anymore. It's not this programmed thing anymore. It's now just back into source energy. It's energy that anybody can use to create anything that they feel. Okay, which is good for it, because it doesn't have to be, just this squawky programmed thing that can't really, that hasn't stepped out of that, and doesn't really have the capability to step out of that, because it doesn't want to, it doesn't know anything else, right? And that's just what it was programmed to do. So your guides want to point that out, though, in the same way that you can create this spark of consciousness by dwelling on something, thinking on something in this undermining way. Or maybe you heard it from someone else, they kept saying it to you, and then you started agreeing with it, and so you either attracted this thought form to yourself, okay, that was already there, or you ended up creating this. And it was just by you constantly stepping into this energy and this space, and programming yourself to be there, and programming this voice, right? And but your guides want to get across that in the same way that you can create this spark of sort of negative consciousness, in a sense, where it's always in this negative programmed space and it can't really get out of it. By dwelling on that, thinking on that, you're putting out this mantra. So you're programming yourself as well, not just this thought form. You're programming yourself too. And you sort of have to program yourself, in a sense, to create a thought form, even if you can step out of that space and you're not always in that space, whereas the thought form can only be in that space. Still, you have to program a little piece of yourself anyway, to be there, even if it's temporarily. You have to agree with that, right? You have to spout that out, and you have to be in agreement with it enough in the moment for this thing to be born. So they're saying that it's about unprogramming yourself, and as you unprogram yourself, this thing diminishes, because it doesn't have anybody who's going to listen to it anymore. And so it's just squawking at nobody, so it doesn't get fed. You don't feed it your energy, because that's what it feeds off of. But it can only do that if you're giving into its doubt, if you're identifying with it, and you are in agreement with it. You're in agreement with your programmed responses to it. So now you don't have to tell yourself these doubts anymore, right? You have this voice over here that's programmed to do it for you, that you created, that you programmed, or like I said, that maybe you attracted by hearing it from someone else, and agreeing with it from somebody else. So now you really don't have to say it to yourself anymore. You have this thing over here that's going to say it to you, but you still have your own programmed response to it. Now, sometimes the programmed response is actually even a thought form. A lot of times, you have this little group where the one is saying this and the other one is responding like this. Okay, but you still have these programmed responses as well, right? It's like I don't know if you've ever played this game, but in the West, we have this game called Marco Polo, and one person closes their eyes and they are trying to find someone else, and they're yelling Marco, and the other one yells Polo back until the person with their eyes shut finally catches the person. So it's like you have this programmed call and you have this programmed response. And it's like it wants to sink into your energy. It wants to sort of catch you being in its space. It wants to bring you into its space, sort of draw you in by calling to you. In other words, is what your guides are saying. And then you call back. And that's how you become in its space. You call back to it, so you respond to it. So you have this programmed response, and they're saying that that's what you need to watch out for. So there's this programmed feeling, right, that wants to creep in. And you can either learn to feel the opposite, know who you are, this is my space, this is my territory, or you can step into its space. Okay, and what your guides are saying, okay, now this is making sense, why they're bringing this up so much. So you have all these questions about, in a sense, what are you doing wrong? Like, you really feel good with your career now, you know you're moving forward, this and that, but you do all these wrong things, or you put your foot in your mouth, you know, you say the wrong thing. You do the wrong thing, or you annoy someone, or you irritate someone, or you feel like you're in your space, but then the other person isn't feeling the vibe, you know. But that's actually all still out of this same thought form. And before, the thing that it was primarily saying to you was, hey, serious business. You know, your decision making sucks. You can't get your career right. You don't know what your purpose is. You don't know what you want to do with your life. And, you know, you're getting older and your parents are still supporting you. And even the food thing, they're saying that even with questioning the food thing, what are you going to eat, and all the physical stuff, why are you sleeping all the time, and this and that and the other, that's what it was primarily getting you with. Well, now think about all the things that you can check off. Okay, it doesn't have sleep to work with. You're not sleeping anymore like crazy. It can't use sleep. What is it going to use? It wants to use the career thing, but now you know what you're doing with your life, right? It can't use the career thing. That was huge. Sleeping all the time was huge, you know? And that was where it was primarily getting all of its energy. So now there's this feeling from your guides, like now it's just going to do anything. Now it's going to come up with any story. Now it's going to try to attract any kind of vibration to you that might feel off, or just make you feel like it's off. So sometimes it might actually be that you're perceiving the person in the wrong way. Sometimes, sure, it's that they're perceiving you like you're different and they're just not really getting you. They're not really seeing eye to eye. But then there's a feeling that other times, you know, something could just be bothering them, right? And you end up thinking that it's you and perceiving them wrong. So, but it's just because of this cloud of energy that's still there, because of this little voice that you've been listening to. But what your guides want you to understand is that now this same thing is just attacking all these other areas, because where in the heck is it going to get its energy from now, right? Now that you're not doing these two like really huge things. And even with the food, you are figuring that out more since you cut out animal products, right? And things like that. So you are even with the diet, you're getting straighter with it. And even when you work out, the more that you work out and you're in the water and you're in your own energy and all this, the more you're naturally going to eat things that benefit you. It's not going to have as much that it can say or that it can negate or that it can complain about. So now the little things with diet, it's going to try to attack, right? And the little squabbles and things with people and friendships, or your brain wasn't working for a second. It's going to attack every little thing that it can. And when you're in your energy, you're doing great, right? And then as soon as you step into this thing's energy, that's when you kind of lose your footing a little bit. But like they said, you can always catch yourself. If you stumble a little bit, you have this stance that you can go into where this thing can't knock you down. It can never knock you over completely. And then as you step more out of that energy, see, you're stepping more into your own energy, and that's great, and that's part of stepping out of this energy. But you still have to let go of this energy and let go of this voice. So this habit of what am I doing wrong is still there. You're still doing it. You're still encouraging this voice and this habit. It's leaking into other areas that it still feels like it can communicate about, because you're still in this habit of constantly doubting who you are and constantly putting yourself down. So you're still in that habit. So you need to come up with some kind of new mantra that you say, and a new feeling that you put out, whatever it is, that just, feeling confident and knowing who you are and that you are good and that this is you, and you are fine and you are right in your own space, and this other stuff can't get to you, you know, even if it's getting to other people, right? That is still just this thought form, sending out a vibration and trying to attract something to you so it can create this little mess so that then you can give into its energy more. So the more that you just ignore it and the more that you pull out of that space, the less you're going to attract from other people, right? Because you're not even really attracting it from them. It's just this thought form that you have that's working with thought forms that they have, right? So as you step out of that thought form, there's just not going to be as much to use. And even if those people are still bothered by you, right? Let's let's say maybe they're still bothered by you, but you start attracting others who aren't bothered by you at all, that you really get along with and they really get along with you. And also that you're not trying to rescue, just you're getting along with them. They're friends. But your guides really don't want you to go into this soulmate thing right now. They're saying that you're not ready to do that yet. Where you would really attract a soulmate, okay? Um, Not just like some puppy that you have to rescue. For the reason that until you really step out of this thing of being wrong, until you fully step out of that, and this confusion about who you are, even though you know more who you are now, this thing is centered around that. And so until it's just completely gone, you're only going to attract the same thing. You're going to attract um, you're going to attract being wrong, right? You're going to attract being wrong and feeling like it's you when really it's the other person, and also feeling wrong about another person, okay? And you're going to attract someone who feels judgmental towards you, but also who's harboring judgment towards themselves and who feels unworthy. You're going to attract someone who has a lot of thought forms like that towards themselves. And your guides are saying that that's what you've attracted before. You attracted people who had a lot of unworthy judgment about themselves. And they put it towards you sometimes, but really it had to do with them. And um, feeling like they weren't acceptable, like they weren't accepted, but also like they weren't acceptable. And your guides are saying that you can't fix someone's thought forms. Either they choose to feel worthy or they don't. And that's a personal choice. Nobody can make you feel worthy, right? Um, if you choose to allow someone to um, cause you to see something good in yourself, and you choose to step in that space and align with that because of something that they're saying to you, that's still your own choice. Just in the same way, like someone can call somebody fat and ugly, right? And uh you can either say, screw you, I'm thin, I look fine, or not even I'm thin, just I look fine, right? Screw you. Um, it doesn't matter what freaking weight you are, right? But screw you, I am fine, I am this, I am that, right? And screw your opinion. Um, or you can step into that space. Oh my God, you're right. Oh, I have you know, I have this wrong with my appearance, I have that wrong with my appearance, I have pudgy elbows or whatever, right? You can come up with all kinds of things. You can step into that space or you can let it go and you can be in your own space. So just like in that way, it's a choice though. To step into a negative space is a choice. Nobody can make you feel unworthy. Well, it's the same way with worthiness. Nobody can actually make you feel better about yourself or see something good in yourself or feel worthy about yourself. So if you're trying to do that for someone and trying to hand them that perspective, you can never hand someone that perspective. You can't literally put it in their hand or place it into their mind through their forehead. They have to grasp it with their own hand. They have to see it with their own eyes and their own mind, right? Their own intelligence. You can't force that down anybody's throat. They're not going to accept it, or they are. And if they are, they're reaching out to you. They're pulling that in. They attracted it to themselves, you know? So that means that underneath their unworthiness, they still had that feeling about themselves that was still coming through to their conscious mind. Otherwise, they wouldn't have pulled in somebody validating that. They wouldn't have pulled in somebody who was giving them that viewpoint, that perspective, right? So it's still really their perspective. But if you're trying to hand it to them and they're not taking it, then you really can't do anything about that, you know? And that's just what they're choosing to be. They're choosing to be unworthy. They're choosing to see themselves that way. So until you get rid of this wrong thing, and your guides are saying that that is going to take you a while, that's going to take you a little while longer to completely remove. And then you'll naturally attract. They're saying not like a long while, but it is going to take you a little while longer to remove. Um, and they're saying, then you'll just naturally, you won't even really have to ask about it. Then you'll just naturally, um, then you'll just naturally be in the right space to pull someone in who matches your frequency and your true frequency. So they don't match this unworthiness or this doubt or this confusion. And that's not why they came to you. So there's a feeling from your guides like past relationships, they were just there to show you that. They were just there to show you this voice, this thought form, and show you what you're doing so that you can correct it, you can change it. So they don't want you to think about that right now. They're saying that that's getting too far ahead, that that'll come naturally when it does. And when it does will just be when this way of thinking is done with. Okay, they're telling me a little bit more, but I'm gonna actually send that to you in an email. So let's see here. What else do I have to say? Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do another pass here. So I'm going to visualize some protective space around us again and see what other information will come through. This is my little trick. When all else, when the energy stops flowing, when I have nothing else to say and I still have more reading, I love doing this because there's always some area where there's a block that comes up or something. Okay, so your head right away, the head right away, which feels like the crown chakra. And I'm a little surprised that that would be blocked. On the one hand, I'm not because of the energy that I'm feeling makes sense that it would be there. But on the other hand, I am just because your left side was so like I said, it just felt really intact, like you were sure and you're very connected to your guides and everything. But still, even on your head, there's this sort of cloudy um, energy there. Okay, so your guides are saying that this doubt and this same thought form and really a group of thought forms. I'm starting to feel it now more like it's a group of thought forms. It's more than one. Your guides are saying five. They're saying five. And they all kind of attack you in different ways, um, but still in the same way and about the same thing. So they all have their job, but they work together really well. So they're all in the same, area. They're all part of the same team. It's like if they all work in an office, right? They all work in the same office, but it's not like one is on the fourth floor and one is on the 10th. It's like they're all on the same floor, you know, they all have cubicles right next to each other, and so they all work on the same kinds of projects. They all have the same type of job. They're all the same kind of employee. Not like, one does stock and one greets you at the door, right? Or one is the cashier. They're all the same type of employee. They're all working towards the same goals, but they all do it a little bit differently. And then they all end up gaining energy. When you listen to one of them, they all end up gaining energy. And they help one another. They help one another to get you to listen to them. And this is their job. That's their job. Um, that's why your guides are saying it in this way of an office and employees, and they're all working on the same floor because it is like their job. This is what they do day in and day out. Their whole life, their whole existence revolves around get serious business to feel this way, get her to think this. And so your guides are saying that you just have to be on top of your game for a while, and really notice those things, notice the voices. And sometimes the voice is not an actual mental thought. Sometimes the voice is a feeling. Sometimes the thought form just feels. It is a feeling-based thought. And it's just going to send you this doubt, just send it to you, just send you this creeping feeling in your gut, right? And then another one will give you some reason. Another one will tell you what to think or why that feeling is there, right? Because they're very simple. So they can't really think a lot more than one thing at a time. So sometimes you literally just have thought form that just sends you a feeling, or it just sends you something physical, even the physical feeling. Like you feel tired, for instance. Okay, of course your guides would use tired, right? Because you had that sleeping thing for a long time. Well, that was a thought form, for instance. Thought forms do that. Just like we talk about breatharianism on our channel, and you have to get rid of these beliefs. That's because these thought forms literally send things like that. They send hunger, for instance, and then if you don't eat, if you keep not giving into their energy, but you haven't dissipated the thought form is still really big, and has all these other thought forms around it that are your beliefs that you believe, then those thought forms are going to send you this slew of side effects if you don't give into the ones that are telling you that you're hungry and you need to eat. Then well, maybe you'll give into the one that gives you a fever, or the one that gives you, a cold, or the one that makes you really shaky if you haven't eaten enough, right? But these are all thought forms that just send these things. They send these things to your mind to validate the beliefs that you've created. So your guides are saying, so they're programmings, right? They're programmings, but they seem very real. And they send things to validate what they're saying. They send things to validate um, their beliefs and to make them yours. But originally they were yours, which is why you ended up with these things with you, okay? Either you created them or you attracted them, but it's because you agreed with them. So, they're going to set up these little um, scenarios, right? Where people aren't getting you the right way or whatever, okay? So this is just these thought forms that attract that. And they were kind of explaining that before, but they're trying to help you with it a little bit more to see it in an even more clear way. So they want to create these things to validate what they are saying so that you believe them, so that then they gain energy, they gain strength. because they gain energy by you believing in them, um, by you investing in them, by you investing your belief in them. So one thing you can start off by saying, right, is just that's a thought form. You can even have a name for the thought form, you know, whatever kind of feeling it sends you. If it sends you a fear, you can say, no, that's just the fear thought form or whatever. Okay. Um, if that helps you to identify it, right, then you're identifying it, you're giving it a name. You're saying, no, this isn't me, that's that thing over there, right? So then you're putting the identification of this feeling with it on it. You're identifying that as the feeling, even though it feels like it's yours, right? You're not choosing to say it's mine. And so after a while it's going to become second nature to you, is what your guides are saying, to just pass it off as not even your thought, as just some suggestion that's being sent to you. And if you can do that, you're not going to give in to this energy, and you're not going to feel it as your own. And it's just going to start to pass and to go away. There's also a feeling from your guides that with food, that sometimes it's more the quantity, um, than actually what you're choosing to eat. So they're saying that it's better to eat like a few small meals than it is to eat like one really, really big meal. And it feels like you would feel better if you were to try that, because your body isn't going to have some absolutely huge project to take apart, right? It's just going to have these few, it's going to have these smaller projects, right? Versus these big projects. So they're saying that you would still end up really eating the same amount. It's just that you would you would do it more throughout the day versus just a few times in this like one clump. But there is a feeling like you are getting better at the things that you're just choosing to eat. And there's not really a feeling that that is contributing to um, how you're saying that you're not burning the weight. They're saying that that isn't really, it's not so much what, it's really not what you're eating anymore that's contributing to that so much. It really doesn't feel like. Um, but it does feel like the quantity can contribute to that somewhat, only because if your body is focusing on this big project, it's not going to be focusing on just burning the weight. But they're also saying, as far as feeling heavy and still feeling kind of heavy physically, they're saying also that you have to realize that there's still just a lot of this energy there, that you had before, and that that's still lifting off. And that's going to take a little time to fully release. And it feels like there's sort of this trigger, and um, once once this trigger is sort of hit, then this energy will just sort of fall out. It will just come out of you, come off of you, and out of your aura, and out of your energy, like your energy bodies. And it's just still kind of trapped there, because think about how much you were sleeping. Um, and they're saying that you did that for years. And there's also a feeling that sometimes you would kind of do that off and on, but for a long period of time, where you couldn't really get that straight, where you were just consistently, for like a whole year, you don't need a bunch of sleep at different points, right? Even if you were more active at some points, there's a feeling that at various points you were always sleeping. And that was for a long time, it feels like. So this energy was just sort of trapped. Um, and it's taken a long time to amass all this energy. So it doesn't just leave you instantly. It has to take a little bit of time. But it feels like it's going to go faster the more that you are okay with it. Um, any kind of negative thing, and the impulse to feel wrong about anything with yourself. You're not fast enough, you're too heavy, you're not eating right, or all of these things, right? This just cacophony of this mess of what you're doing wrong, okay? Since that's just this thought form, this group of these thought forms, and you need to pull out of that, then obviously the more that you stop giving into that at all, the more that you just accept, um, who you are and where you're at right now, and you're good with it, and you're confident, and you're comfortable with who you are. um, Even if everything isn't exactly the way that you would want it to be, it's fine for now. It's good enough. Um, and if you can take that stance and you can accept yourself and feel good about who you are, versus cutting yourself down so much, then this voice will really go away more, and this energy will lift more easily, and more quickly. Because as long as you're hanging on to these energies, you're going to be hanging on to weight, because that's just the physical representation of it. And they're saying, as far as the other thing, I know this was another email, and then you were kind of switching the questions, or something, but whatever. They're bringing up an old question, which was something about like the 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 sort of technical aspects of what you're doing, and in a sort of school-based kind of educational way, and just trying to remember all these facts and get everything right. They're saying even with that, not to really worry about that so much. Because there's still a feeling like that is going to get better. Um, and you're going to totally find your element and be in your space. And also, you're going to know exactly what you're doing in the water, right? You're going to know, um, you're going to come to conclusions and decisions, um, not just where you're learning this stuff, but where you know exactly sort of why you're learning it, where it's going to take you with your life, right? What career path you're going to go in from this. And that's going to be, you know, a place where it clicks for you. Mentally, you know exactly what you are doing. But with what you're doing now as well, there's still a feeling like that's going to get better. And even with that, like you have to give it a little bit of time, because even that it feels like is connected to this energy. God, your mother always comes up. I don't know why, but there's always a feeling of your mother. Um, Whenever your guides go into thought forms, even the first thought form session that you and I and Wolf had, there was a feeling of your mother. There's always a feeling of your mother. Um, and that some of this goes back to her. But there's a feeling like even if it isn't all obvious, even if it's not so obvious that she has all of these things, it feels like some things go back to your father a little bit too. Um, and some of this kind of coming down on kind of energy, it feels like some of that goes back to your father, where you could pinpoint some of that if you were to look at it. Um, and it feels like some of that is like an outgoing thing. Um, where he can sometimes cause some insecurities. It doesn't really feel like on purpose, but that he can kind of bring those up. It feels like with your mom, though, it feels like she has them. And I think that that's why your guides kept saying you could have attracted them or you could have created them, right? Um, because it feels like there's both. It feels like some of them you created, but some of them you attracted from other people. And I kept getting parents whenever they were saying that. And obviously, a lot of us have beliefs that come from our parents, but they kept specifically sending that energy. Um, and then specifically with your mom. Oh, I remember what it was in the first thought form session. That's right. They're reminding me. There was this alone thing, but then it ended up being more about you needed to be in your energy, and it was really about your career. And this thought form was giving you this disconnect from who you are. And so then you had this inability to find your purpose. But that felt somehow like it had come from your mom, like it was connected to your mom. And so there's always this feeling with this career stuff and um, this kind of confusion. And when it comes to your purpose and everything, there's always a feeling of that with your mom, always. That's somehow related to your mom, that she has had some of that, or she's had an issue with that, or that could have passed down to her, or she could have created it. Um, I don't know though. It feels even like a pass down with her though. It doesn't feel like she created all of it. Um, it feels like some of those entrenched beliefs, some of that was passed down to her. And again, it feels like from some other woman in the family. Um, But you can see how going back, right? Women would have this with career, because they're reminding me of some other reading I did with you, which I never would have thought of any of this stuff. This is so old. I would not think of any of this, especially not this. But they're reminding me. In one of the readings, they were talking about you being a girl and how part of the reason you were resistant to your path and it was difficult for you to do something like scuba diving, which would really be on your path to do, is because you have this thing of it's not proper and I'm a female, I'm a girl, and so I can do Pilates and I can, try and do something that's sort of physical and I sweat, but I'm still doing this kind of, you know, not exactly girly thing, but like something that's acceptable for girls to do. Girls can do Pilates, but they don't necessarily scuba dive. Okay, is this like belief that they were bringing up, which is ridiculous. That's not true. All kinds of women scuba dive. It's 21st century. So, you know, who hasn't heard of a woman scuba diving? Women do crazy shit now all the time. But the point is, so you had this kind of old thought form that was there and still kind of blocking you. Like you can do this, but you can't do that because you're female. So they're kind of reminding me of that, and because they're saying that, so it makes sense that this is coming from um, women on your side. It feels like it's something that passes down, that's been passing down generationally to women on your side. And so then it ends up causing this confusion about purpose. And it might not even seem that obvious, right? Because um, if they feel like, well, this is really proper to do, they can end up giving into that. And they can end up just sort of feeling like, well, this is their place, even though they're completely out of place, and even though they don't feel in alignment. And what that can end up causing is some emotional issues where you don't really feel fulfilled, but at the same time, you don't know why. And you're not really allowed to go there, and you're not really allowed to look at that. For women, um, you know, for older women anyway. Now with you, since it is the 21st century, right, and you're younger, you're like you're expected to kind of get past that and not really have those same beliefs anymore, even though they've been passed down to you. And a lot of women still do things out of that, even though they can do something else. Still, a lot of women still have those beliefs. Young women included, they still have those beliefs, and they're working out of those beliefs, and or not working out of those beliefs, right? Or not doing the kind of work that they would like to be doing because of those beliefs. So they're saying that any belief that says you can't really goes back to that. And any belief that puts in some kind of self-doubt, they're saying it's also tied into that. It's also tied into this I'm a girl kind of belief that they had brought up before. Okay, so that is all that your guides have to say for now. They're ending the reading. So thank you very much once again, Sirius Business, for allowing me to do this reading for you. And I truly hope that it benefits you. Namaste.